6 months pregnant, I suddenly could hear the fetus's thoughts. My daughter was crying, "Mom, my sister is pinching my umbilical cord, it hurts so much." I believed it. I ate desperately, supplemented desperately, and even asked the doctor if there was any medicine to inhibit my sister's growth. On the day of delivery, the baby was too large, and I suffered a massive hemorrhage. Only the older sister was born. The younger sister died in the womb. Before my consciousness faded, I saw the older sister give me a strange smile. "Fool, I'll gladly take the fortune of you and your sister, along with Dad's." The daughter I desperately protected turned out to be a born evil seed. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the first day. I heard her inner thoughts. 1. A sharp pain twisted in my abdomen. I awoke from the darkness. An unfamiliar ceiling, a familiar chandelier. This is the bedroom I share with Zhou Ian. I'm not dead. I reach out and touch my highly swollen belly. Warm, real, a sharp, thin voice explodes directly in my mind. "Mom, my sister is pinching my umbilical cord again. It hurts so much. She wants to kill me. She wants to hog all of Mom's nutrients." My body stiffened. That voice, I remember. I sat up abruptly, looking around. The calendar on the wall had bright red numbers. August 15th. I am 6 months pregnant, and this is the day I first heard my eldest daughter's inner thoughts. "I'm back, Mom. Why aren't you saying anything? Hurry up and eat, or I'm going to be drained dry." By my little sister, this useless little sister, why isn't she dead yet? I close my eyes. Images from my past life flood into my mind like a tide. I believed her words. My eldest daughter, Zhou Nianxi. I believe every word she said. I believe it was the youngest daughter, Zhou Zian, who was hurting her. I started eating frantically. Chicken soup, fish soup, all kinds of nutritional supplements. I stretched my stomach until I vomited. I just wanted to protect Zhou Nianxi. I even went to ask the doctor if there was any medicine that could suppress the development of the other fetus. The doctor looked at me as if I were insane. Zhou Ian also advised me, saying both are our children. I didn't listen. On the day of delivery, because both babies were too large, I had a difficult labor. Blood stained the operating table. The doctor asked, "Save the mother or the child?" With my last ounce of strength, I cried out, "Save the child. Save my Nianxi." Zhou Ian was outside signing the papers. He agreed. I feel life slipping away. In my blurred consciousness, I saw Zhou Nianxi being carried out. She wasn't crying. She turned her head and looked in my direction. She smiled. I heard the last words she said to me. "Fool, you believe everything you hear. Your luck, your sister's luck, and Dad's. They're all mine now." So, she was the evil seed all along. The one I desperately tried to protect was a devil, and my quiet daughter, who never spoke a word, my Xian, until her death, she never once called out to me for help. I am dead, with endless regret. "Mom, what are you spacing out for? Go eat something." Zhou Nianxi's impatient voice rang out once more. "This old thing is so slow. I'm practically starving to death. Once I'm born, the first thing I'll do is snatch Zhou Ian away, leaving you all alone in an empty room." I opened my eyes. His eyes were icy cold. I slowly got out of bed. My body felt somewhat heavy due to the pregnancy. I walked to the living room. Mother-in-law was just coming out of the kitchen with a bowl of chicken soup. "Su Rui, you're awake. Quick, drink it while it's hot. It's good for you and the baby." In my past life, it was after drinking this bowl of soup that I started my journey of being force-fed. I looked at that bowl of greasy chicken soup. My stomach churned violently. "Drink it quickly. This is good stuff. Drink it, and both of us can grow up. Then squeeze that useless one to death." Zhou Nianxi screamed excitedly. I picked up the bowl. Under my mother-in-law's expectant gaze, I walked to the sink. Splash, a whole bowl of chicken soup was poured in. "2. Su Rui, what are you doing?" The mother-in-law's startled cry rang out from behind. Her voice was sharp, filled with disbelief. I ignored her. I turned on the faucet. The water stream washed over the greasy surface of the bowl. "You're crazy, you foolish woman. You actually poured out the soup." Zhou Nianxi was screaming frantically in my mind. "That's mine. That's my nourishment. Do you want to starve me to death? Do you want that little waste to succeed?" I washed the dishes with an expressionless face. "Su Rui, have you lost your mind? That's the free-range chicken soup I've been stewing all morning." My mother-in-law rushed over and snatched the bowl from my hands. Her eyes were wide as saucers. "If you don't want to drink it, just don't drink it. Why would you pour it out? Do you have any idea how hard Ian works to earn money?" I turn off the faucet. I turn around and look at her calmly. "Greasy." I utter a single word. The mother-in-law was stunned. "What?" I said. "It's too greasy. It makes me nauseous." I pointed at the chicken fat in the sink. "The doctor said that in the late stages of pregnancy, you need to control your weight and eat a light diet." "Nonsense." "Which doctor said that?" Pregnancy is all about getting extra nourishment, the mother-in-law immediately retorted. Dr. Zhang, the head of the city's maternity and child health hospital. I brought out the most authoritative doctor from the hospital. From now on, I will be responsible for my own diet. I looked at my mother-in-law and spoke each word clearly. There's no need for you to worry about it. This damn old woman, always ruining my plans. Mom, don't believe the doctors. They're all liars. They want to harm me. Zhou Nianzi was still screaming. I simply ignored it. My mother-in-law was left speechless by my words. She opened her mouth but couldn't utter a word for a long time. My gaze fell on the fruit plate on the coffee table. There was a bunch of grapes placed there. In my previous life, Zhou Nianzi said she wanted to eat grapes. I ate an entire box. In the end, my blood sugar skyrocketed, and I almost suffered from gestational poisoning. Mom, I see grapes. I want to eat them. Zhou Nianzi's tone suddenly changed. It became soft and sweet, as if she was acting coquettishly. Mom is the best. Hurry and give me some grapes to eat. I walked over, picked up that bunch of grapes. My mother-in-law thought I was going to eat them, and her expression softened slightly. I plucked one off. Put it in your mouth. It's very sweet. Yes, this is the taste. Mom, eat more. Zhou Nianzi's voice was filled with satisfaction. I chewed twice, walked over to the trash can. I spat out the grape along with the skin and seeds. Then, I took the entire remaining bunch of grapes in my hand and threw them all into the trash can. You. Zhou Nianzi's scream almost pierced my eardrums. My mother-in-law was completely dumbfounded. She pointed at me, her fingers trembling. You, Su Rui, what exactly are you trying to do? The door opened. Zhou Ian was back. He was dressed in a suit, carrying a briefcase in his hand. He frowned upon seeing the confrontation in the living room. Mom, Su Rui, what's going on? His mother-in-law seemed to have found her backbone and immediately started complaining. Ian, you need to discipline your wife. She's gone crazy today. I don't know what's gotten into her. She poured out the chicken soup I made and threw away the grapes I bought. I think she just doesn't want my granddaughter to have a good time. Zhou Ian looked at me. His eyes held a questioning look. Dad is back. Zhou Nianzi's voice instantly turned aggrieved and obedient. Dad, Mom is bullying me. She won't give me food. She wants to starve me to death. Tell me about her quickly. I look at Zhou Ian, looking at this man I have loved for many years. Yet who in my past life personally signed away his claim on me? My heart is completely calm. Yan. I have an appointment for a prenatal checkup with Director Zhang tomorrow morning, I said. Take a day off and come with me. 3. Zhou Yan was taken aback for a moment. He didn't expect me to make this request. In the past, to show my thoughtfulness and understanding, I never asked him to take time off to accompany me for prenatal checkups. I always went by myself or had my mother-in-law accompany me. Upon hearing this, my mother-in-law became even more displeased. What prenatal checkup? Didn't we just have one last week? Yan is so busy with work. How could he have time to accompany you to the hospital every day? Don't go to the hospital. Zhou Nianzi's voice carried a hint of panic. I hate hospitals. There's something there that will hurt me. Mom, don't go. I'm scared. Scared? You're just afraid the ultrasound machine will reveal your little tricks. I sneered inwardly. I'm feeling a bit unwell in my stomach. I looked at Zhou Ian, my tone calm. With 2 children, it's better to be cautious. Zhou Ian's gaze fell on my prominent belly. He remained silent for a moment. Finally, he nodded. All right, I'll take leave tomorrow morning. He took off his suit jacket and handed it to his mother-in-law. Mom, Su Rui is having a tough pregnancy and her emotions are unstable. Please be more understanding. He was trying to smooth things over. He was also indirectly giving me a way to help his mother-in-law save face. In my past life, I would have surely taken the opportunity to apologize to my mother-in-law, but now, I just responded with a faint, Then I turned and went back to the bedroom. Bang! I closed the door, shutting out the mother and son pair. This good-for-nothing actually dares to order Dad around. Wait until I'm born. I'll definitely make her pay. Zhou Nianzi was still cursing, but Dad is still on my side. He agreed to go to the hospital, probably just to see if that little waste is dead or not. Great. Tomorrow I'll get to see her dead with my own eyes. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Is this something a fetus should be saying? I walked over to the bed and sat down, gently placing my palm on the right side of my abdomen. That is Xian's seat. She is always very quiet, so quiet that I often overlook her presence. In my previous life, until the day I died, I never heard her say a word. Cherish peace. I'm sorry, Mom is back. This time, Mom will definitely protect you. I lay down and closed my eyes. I no longer paid any attention to Zhou Nianzi's Voice, the next day, Zhou Ian indeed took a leave of absence. We drove to the hospital. On the way, he tried to talk to me. Surue, have you been under too much stress lately? Mom is getting older and speaks her mind. Don't take it to heart. I looked out the window, no response. Dad is talking to me. He cares about me. Mom is such an idiot. Dad is talking to her and she doesn't even respond. She deserves to be abandoned. Zhou Nianzi said proudly, arriving at the hospital, registering and queuing up. Every step of the process was the same as in her previous life. Finally, it's my turn. I lay on the examination bed. Director Zhang personally operated the equipment. The cold coupling gel was applied to my stomach. I felt a bit nervous. On the screen, two small figures appeared. They were huddled closely together. Director Zhang moved the probe. Is this my sister? She pointed at the larger figure on the screen. Look, her hand. It seems. My heart leaped into my throat. Her hand seems to be on the baby's umbilical cord. Director Zhang's words hit me like a heavy hammer to the heart. Zhou Ian also leaned in to take a look. His face instantly changed. Mom, look, the little sister is going to die. Zhou Nianzi's excited voice echoed in my mind. The doctor and Dad both saw it. They're going to get rid of this little waste. Mom, hurry and beg the doctor to save me. I look at the screen. The image is blurry, but I can see Zhou Nianzi's hand was indeed resting on Zhou Xian's umbilical cord, exactly the same as in the previous life. This is the evidence she used to slander Xian. Zhou Ian tightly held my hand. His voice was trembling. Doctor, what's going on? Is the older sister pinching the younger sister? Director Zhang frowned, carefully examining the screen. Don't worry, there's an angle error in the ultrasound. Let me try a different angle. She moved the probe. The image on the screen changed. I see it clearly. Zhou Nianzi's hand was not resting on it. Instead, it was gripping it tightly. For Zhou Ian's voice carried a fear he himself had not yet realized. He believed it, just like me in my past life. The moment I saw that scene, I condemned Xian. Dad saw it too. That's great. He's definitely going to hate that little waste of space to death. Zhou Nianzi cheered excitedly in my mind. Mom, hurry up and cry. Act pitiful. Quick, tell the doctor and Dad that your stomach hurts because your sister pinched you. Hurry up, you fool. Her urging was sharp and piercing. I ignored her. My gaze calmly settled on Director Zhang's face. Director Zhang, I spoke, my voice steady, unlike that of a worried mother. In a twin pregnancy, can one fetus's hand grip the other's umbilical cord like this? I deliberately used the word grip instead of hitching a ride. Zhou Ian suddenly looked at me. His eyes were filled with confusion. Director Zhang also glanced at me with some surprise. She adjusted her glasses and took a closer look at the screen. Indeed. It's clenched, she murmured thoughtfully. This situation is extremely rare. Generally speaking, the space inside the uterus is limited, and occasional contact between fetal limbs is normal, but such persistent and forceful grasping may affect the blood flow and nutrient supply of the grasped fetus. Her words were like a massive stone thrown into a calm lake. Zhou Ian's face instantly turned pale. Will it affect the nutritional supply? Then could my sister be in danger? He asked. Urgently. Danger? I wish she were dead. Dad is worried about me. Yes, he must be worried that I'll be dragged down by this useless person. Zhou Nianzi thought maliciously. Director Zhang did not answer immediately. She adjusted the instrument, and the data on the screen began to flicker. Currently, all of the older sister's indicators are very good, even slightly above standard. The younger sister's indicators are within the normal range, but leaning toward the lower limit. This indicates that there is indeed an imbalance in nutrient absorption. Director Zhang's tone became serious. Mrs. Zhou, have you been eating too oily recently? I immediately nodded. Yes, my mother-in-law makes me all sorts of tonic soups every day. I told her it's too oily, but she doesn't believe me. My tone was filled with helplessness. Zhou Ian's lips moved, but no words came out. He was well aware of his mother's actions. Nonsense. Director Zhang's tone grew stern. Who said you have to stuff yourself when you're pregnant, with a twin pregnancy? It's even more important to focus on a scientific diet and control your weight. Oversized fetuses only increase the risks during delivery, which is no good for either the mother or the babies. Starting today, stop all those greasy, heavy tonic soups, eat more vegetables and high-quality protein, and strictly follow the diet plan from the nutrition department. Director Zhang's words felt like a slap in the face to my mother-in-law, and even more so to the foolish version of me from my past life. No, I can't stop. Zhou Nian's desperate roar echoed in my mind. This damn old hag, she wants to starve me to death. Mom, quickly refute her. Tell her, I want to eat meat. I want to drink soup, of course. I wouldn't refute her. I looked at Director Zhang and nodded solemnly. Okay, doctor, I've got it. So, how do we solve the issue of the older sister holding onto the younger sister's umbilical cord? I steered the conversation back on track. This question was the core of today's discussion. Director Zhang let out a sigh. We cannot intervene in the behavior of the fetus in the womb, we can only monitor it closely. You should come in for an ultrasound every week to monitor the umbilical blood flow of the baby. If any abnormal indicators are detected, you will need to be hospitalized immediately, and a cesarean section may even be required ahead of schedule, of course. There's no need to be too nervous, maybe my sister will let go in a little while. This requires luck. The examination is over. I slowly sit up from the bed. Zhou Ian supported me, his palms were covered in cold sweat. Doctor, thank you, I said to Director Zhang, walking out of the ultrasound room. Zhou Ian remained silent, his brows were tightly furrowed, as if he was pondering something. He no longer simply believed, as he had at the beginning, that it was just one child bullying another. Director Zhang's words made him realize the complexity of the issue. One indicator exceeds the standard, while another umbilical cord is tightly held. One indicator falls below the norm, potentially affecting nutrient supply. This scene, no matter how you look at it, does not seem like the weak are resisting, more like a strong person bullying. A seed of doubt, finally, in my husband's heart, it was planted. 5. Returning home, the mother-in-law immediately stepped forward. How did it go? What did the doctor say? Her face was filled with anticipation. She was hoping the doctor would confirm her belief that the younger granddaughter was unwell and needed to nourish the older one. Zhou Ian glanced at me without saying a word, then walked straight to the living room to pour water. He clearly didn't want to be part of this conversation. This was exactly what I wanted. I needed to personally shatter all of my mother-in-law's illusions. The doctor said I have excessive nutrition. I spoke calmly. Both babies are larger than average, especially the older sister, who is already 2 weeks ahead. The doctor told me to start controlling my diet from today. I can't have any greasy soups anymore. The old woman's smile froze on her face. How is that possible? Did the doctor make a mistake? Bigger is better. Bigger means healthier. Yayan weighed 8 pounds when he was born, so strong and sturdy. She was still clinging to her outdated theories. Exactly. This doctor is a quack. Mom, don't listen to her. Let's keep drinking the soup. Zhou Nianxi was still fanning the flames. Mom, I looked at her, my gaze more resolute than ever before. I am the one giving birth, and I am the one bearing the risks. If the baby is too large and leads to a difficult delivery, the one lying on the operating table will still be me. So, starting today, I will decide what I eat. If you feel sorry for the soup you stewed, drink it yourself or give it to Ian. Don't bring it in front of me again. My words were spoken without any courtesy. My mother-in-law's face flushed red and then turned pale. She probably never imagined that I, who had always been so docile, would say such things. She trembled with anger, her lips quivering, and looked at Zhou Ian, hoping he would judge the situation. Ian, listen to this, just listen to what she's saying. Zhou Ian held a water glass and leaned back on the sofa. He wearily pinched the bridge of his nose. Mom, let's just do as Su Rui suggested. We should listen to the doctor's advice. He didn't support me, but he didn't oppose me either. He simply chose to believe the authority. But for the mother-in-law, this was already a bolt from the blue. She couldn't believe that her own son would actually side with his wife. She stomped her foot, turned, and went into the kitchen, where the clatter of pots and pans could be heard. Trash? What a piece of trash. Can't even handle your own mother. Zhou Nianxi was fuming in my mind. It's fine. If you won't give it to me, I'll figure it out myself. I refuse to believe I can't suck that little waste to death. I paid no attention to her. I walked straight into the study. Turning on the computer, I began searching for information on umbilical cord entanglement in twin pregnancies and twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. In my previous life, I knew nothing about all of this. I only knew to trust Zhou Nianxi's words, foolishly stuffing myself. In this life, I will arm myself with science. I want Zhou Ian to see not a hysterical madwoman, but a rational, calm mother who is striving to learn in order to protect her child. The entire afternoon, I spent it reading various medical papers and case studies. The more I read, the heavier my heart became. Zhou Nianxi's behavior has already gone beyond that of an ordinary fetus. It was an attack with a clear purpose. Evening, Zhou Ian walked into the study. He stared at the dense medical terminology on my computer screen. Stunned, Su Rui. You're looking at these? I pointed to a case on the screen. Look at this, it's very similar to our situation. It's also twins. One baby grabbed the other's lifeline. In the end, the result was that both children— I didn't finish the sentence, but Zhou Ian understood. His expression grew even more serious. Stop looking. He turned off my computer. Don't scare yourself. Didn't the doctor say we should just observe, Ian? I looked up, meeting his eyes directly. I don't believe in luck. I only trust myself. If observation can't solve the problem, I'll find a doctor who can. Across the country, across the world, I'll search. In my eyes, there is no fear, no panic, only the determination to burn one's boats. Zhou Ian looked at me, remaining silent for a long time. He saw a kind of strength in my eyes that he had never seen before. It was a kind of fearless resolve that belongs to a mother, putting on an act. In the end, you still want to harm me. Just you wait. I'll make you suffer for this. Suddenly, a sharp, stabbing pain shot through my lower abdomen. It felt as if a needle were piercing my womb. I groaned, and cold sweat instantly broke out on my forehead. What's wrong? Zhou Ian immediately became tense. My stomach hurts. I grabbed his hand and pressed it against the right side of my abdomen, the location of Xian. It's here. It seems like the older sister is kicking the younger sister. I deliberately spoke vaguely. Zhou Ian's hand rested on my belly. He could clearly feel that on the left side of the abdomen, the spot belonging to Zhou Nianzi was violently, one after another, bumping against the right side. That's not a fetal movement, it's a malicious attack. His pupils suddenly contracted. 6. Zhou Ian's hand froze on my abdomen. He could feel a kind of domineering, forceful throbbing. One beat, then another, each one precisely aimed in the same direction, and my body, with each impact, convulsed in waves. She's been moving all along. Zhou Ian's voice sounded somewhat dry. Yes. I leaned against him, pretending to be weak. It hasn't really stopped since this afternoon. I looked it up, and it said that frequent fetal movements in the late stages of pregnancy could be a sign of oxygen deprivation. I subtly fed him the information I had gathered. Zhou Ian's expression grew increasingly grim. He was a man who believed in science and logic. Everything happening before his eyes was overturning his understanding. How can a fetus have such intense, sustained, and targeted aggressive behavior? This defies common sense. Kick you to death. Kick you to death, you little waste. And you, foolish woman, how dare you not give me delicious food? I'll make you all suffer together. Zhou Nianzi's roar confirmed my suspicions. She was seeking revenge. Revenge for me pouring out the chicken soup. Revenge for me throwing away the grapes. Revenge for me not listening to her. She was trying to punish me and Xian in this way. The pain lasted for about 10 minutes. Zhou Nianzi also seemed tired. The impact in my abdomen finally stopped. I let out a long sigh of relief. Cold sweat had already soaked through my pajamas. Zhou Ian helped me sit down on the edge of the bed. He poured a glass of warm water for me. Su Rui, we'll go to the hospital tomorrow. His voice carried an unquestionable determination. We can't wait any longer. I've asked someone to contact Professor Li from the Provincial Maternal and Child Health Hospital. He's one of the top fetal medicine experts in the country. My heart stirred. Professor Li, in my previous life, after I had a difficult labor, Xian could not be saved. In his grief, Zhou Ian had once sought out this Professor Li, wanting to understand the cause of Xian's death. At that time, Professor Li concluded that the fetus had been in a state of long-term malnutrition and hypoxia, which ultimately led to organ failure, and the culprit behind all of this is another, overdeveloped, fetus. At that time, Zhou Ian thought it was because Xian was too weak. He didn't know that it was Zhou Nianzi's deliberate murder, which had been planned for months. In this life, I will not give Zhou Nianzi this opportunity again. Okay, I nodded. An expert, another expert. Can't you just stop? I'm perfectly fine and don't need to see a doctor at all. Zhou Nianzi's voice was filled with resistance and fear. She was afraid that her disguise would be exposed by more professional equipment and more skilled doctors. I absolutely cannot let you go, Mom. Tell Dad quickly that your stomach doesn't hurt anymore. You're all better. Say it now. She started ordering me. How could I possibly listen to her? Not only am I going, but I also need to make thorough preparations. Early the next morning, Zhou Ian went to arrange for a car and make an appointment. Seeing that we were heading to the hospital again, my mother-in-law looked very displeased. Going again? Do you think the hospital is your own home? Getting checked every day. The radiation isn't good for the child. She was still going on about her baseless theories. I walked right past her without even bothering to say a word. Before heading out, I walked into the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and took out the half bunch of grapes left over from yesterday. In front of my mother-in-law, I slowly ate one. Grapes. It's grapes. Zhou Nianzi's voice instantly became joyful. You know what's good for you. Quick, eat more. I didn't eat any more. I threw all the leftovers into the trash can, then, I took out an apple and took a big bite. Crunch. The roar in my head sounded again, a familiar, sharp pain began to radiate from my abdomen. Zhou Nianzi started attacking me with her old tricks again. Very well, I was trying to provoke you, I just want you to show your malice, without any reservation. In front of that expert, I endured the pain and walked out of the house. I got into Zhou Ian's car. Does it hurt again? He noticed my pale face and immediately asked. I pointed to the left side of my abdomen. It seems she doesn't like me eating apples. Zhou Ian's knuckles turned white as he gripped the steering wheel. He didn't say another word, he just slammed on the accelerator. The car sped along the road. I leaned back in my seat, my hand gently resting on the right side of my abdomen, where Xian is. Don't be afraid, my child, we're going to get help. This time, Mom won't let you fight alone anymore. 7. Provincial Maternity and Child Health Hospital, the nation's top fetal medicine center. Everything here is different from the city's maternity hospital. The corridor is so quiet that you can only hear your own heartbeat. Every medical staff member walks hurriedly with a serious expression. Zhou Ian pulled some strings, and we were able to meet Professor Li directly. He appeared to be in his 50s, with graying hair, but his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. He didn't waste any words and directly reviewed our examination report from the Municipal Maternity and Child Health Hospital. The ultrasound shows that T1, which you refer to as the older daughter, is persistently grasping T2's umbilical cord. Professor Li pointed at the blurry ultrasound image. There are regular, directional impacts in the abdomen. Is that correct? He looked at me. I nodded. Yes, it happens every day, especially after I eat something she doesn't like. I chose my words carefully. I didn't say, Zhou Nianzi doesn't like it, but rather, she doesn't like it. I placed myself in the position of an objective, confused mother. Professor Li's gaze lingered on my face for a few seconds. Mr. Zhou, have you personally experienced that kind of impact? He then turned to Zhou Ian. Zhou Ian's expression was grim. I've felt it. His voice was somewhat hoarse. That wasn't a fetal movement, it was more like an attack. He said the word. Professor Li nodded. Understood. Go and get a detailed 4-dimensional color ultrasound. I need real-time dynamic images. Also, do a fetal heart rate monitoring. Separate monitoring. We were taken to another examination room. The equipment here is much more advanced than that at the Municipal Maternity and Child Health Hospital. The screen is larger, and the images are clearer. I lay down again. The cold instrument glides over my belly. Zhou Nianzi seemed to sense a threat. What kind of place is this? These things make me very uncomfortable. Mom, let's go home. I don't want to stay here. Her voice was filled with anxiety and unease. She began to thrash violently inside my womb, more intense than ever before. I groaned in pain. It's starting, I said to the operating doctor. Professor Li and Zhou Ian stood right in front of the screen. They could clearly see that the light spot representing Zhou Nianzi, like a raging bull, was charging again and again toward the small, quietly curled up light spot on the right. Zhou Xian, my dear Xian, in order to avoid the attack, has already retreated to the farthest corner of the womb, but Zhou Nianzi is relentless. She even stretched out her foot and kicked hard on the screen. The light spot representing Xian trembled incessantly due to the violent impact. Zhou Ian's breathing instantly stopped. His eyes were fixed on the screen, his fists clenched so tightly they creaked. Any word seemed pale and powerless in the face of such a vivid scene. This was not an illusion. It is not my speculation. This is what is happening. A deliberate, cruel reality. Get away. All of you. Get away, this little waste. Why isn't she dead yet? It's infuriating me. Zhou Nian was still roaring. She didn't know that every move she made, every attack she launched, was being projected with perfect clarity into my husband's eyes through high-definition footage. The examination lasted for half an hour. For me, it felt as long as a century. After it ended, I was practically being helped out by someone. In Professor Li's office, the atmosphere was so oppressive it felt suffocating. The situation is even more serious than I imagined. Professor Li's expression was one of rare gravity in his decades-long career. This is not simply twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, nor is it ordinary umbilical cord entanglement. This is a type of fetal behavior I've never seen before, one with clear, subjective aggression. T1 is using every possible method to try to prevent T2 from surviving, including, but not limited to, competing for nutrients, restricting space, and direct physical attacks. The fetal heart monitor shows that every time T1 initiates an attack, T2's fetal heart rate drops sharply, even falling below the danger line at one point. This indicates that T2 has already developed intrauterine distress, meaning hypoxia. If this continues, she will die in the womb due to hypoxia and malnutrition long before birth. Every word from Professor Lee felt like a cold knife piercing Zhou Ian's heart. He sat there, his body rigid and motionless, the color drained from his face. What? Oxygen deprivation? Is that little good-for-nothing going to die? Zhou Nianxi's voice suddenly became filled with surprise. Great, it's finally about to succeed. Hurry up and die, hurry up and die. Her cheers formed the cruelest contrast with the deathly silence in the office. I closed my eyes, suppressing all my emotions deep within. Professor, I speak up, breaking the silence. What should we do? Professor Lee looked at me, a hint of sympathy in his eyes. At present, the only way is to preserve T2 as much as possible. First, completely cut off the excessive supply of nutrients to T1. I will give you a strict diet plan that you must follow every day, down to the gram. This recipe can ensure the basic nutrition for T2, but it will make T1 feel hungry. Hunger will make her weak, and her aggression will diminish accordingly. Secondly, I recommend that you be hospitalized for observation. We need to monitor T2's fetal heart rate 24 hours a day. In case of an emergency, we will immediately intervene within the uterine cavity or even perform a cesarean section in advance. Mrs. Zhou, Mr. Zhou. Professor Lee stood up, looking at us solemnly. You need to be mentally prepared. Every day from now on will be a battle. The child you need to protect is one who won't cry for help, and your enemy is another. 8. As I walked out of the hospital building, the sunlight outside was a bit glaring. Zhou Ian remained silent. He walked beside me like a puppet that had lost its soul. Professor Lee's words had completely shattered the scientific worldview he had built over the past 30 years. It wasn't until he sat in the car that he finally reacted. He reached out his hand, trembling, and covered my abdomen. Through the thin fabric, he seemed to want to feel the presence of the two little lives inside. Su Rui, he spoke, his voice terribly hoarse. I'm sorry, he said. I did not respond. Those 3 words were too light, and too late. They cannot bring back my life that was unjustly taken in my previous life, nor can they restore Xian's brief existence, which never saw the light of day. The car started. Zhou Ian did not go home immediately. He drove to the city's most expensive maternal and infant nutrition center. He took the recipe prescribed by Professor Lee and had the nutritionist prepare all the ingredients for the upcoming week. Then, he went to the pharmacy and bought the most precise electronic food scale. He made his stance clear through his actions. In this battle, he chose to stand on my and Xian's side. Returning home, my mother-in-law was sitting on the sofa with a gloomy expression. Seeing us come in with bags of stuff, she immediately stood up. Where have you been running off to again? Don't you know someone is waiting at home? Ian, look at what you've bought. What are all these things? Green vegetables and radishes. Can these things be nutritious? The turtle soup I've been stewing in the pot is almost cold. As she spoke, she was about to go to the kitchen to ladle the soup. Mom, Zhou Ian called out. To stop her, his voice was as cold as ice. Pour out the soup. Her mother-in-law turned back in disbelief. What did you say? I said, pour out the soup. Zhou Ian repeated it word by word. Starting today, I will personally be in charge of Su Rui's diet, Professor Lee's recipe. No one can change it. If you dare let her drink another sip of that oily soup, we'll move out. The mother-in-law was completely stunned. She looked at her son as if he were a stranger. Her lips trembled, wanting to say something, but she was frightened back by Zhou Ian's sharp gaze. In the end, she could only stomp her feet, walk back to her room resentfully, and slam the door shut with a bang. This unfilial son, for the sake of an outsider, he dares to speak to his own mother like that, and that guy surnamed Lee is definitely a quack. My poor granddaughter is going to be starved to death by them. In my mind, Zhou Nianxi was cursing alongside my mother-in-law, sharing the same hatred. I couldn't be bothered to pay attention. Walking into the bedroom, I closed the door and began my plan. I turned on my phone and played a piece of Mozart's piano music. This is widely recognized as one of the best types of prenatal music. Then, I took out a small portable speaker and placed it on the right side of my abdomen, where Xian was. The melodious sound of the piano flowed gently. My hand gently caressed there. So noisy. What on earth is this? It sounds awful. Turn it off quickly. Zhou Nianxi immediately began to protest irritably. A restless stirring also came from the left side of my abdomen. I ignored her. The music lasted for 10 minutes. I turned off the speaker. Then, I changed the song, a heavy metal rock track with an intense rhythm, filled with drum beats and screams. This time, I placed the speaker on the left side of my abdomen, right where Zhou Nianxi was. The deafening music began to play. Zhou Ian pushed the door open and was startled by the noise. Su Rui, What are you doing? Prenatal education. I pointed to my belly and made a shoo gesture at him. I'm trying to implement differentiated education. Zhou Ian frowned, looking at me with confusion, but he didn't stop me. He stood to the side, quietly observing. He saw it. At the moment the rock music started playing, the disturbance on the left side of my abdomen actually stopped. Not only did it stop, there were even a few excited pulsations, carrying a strange sense of rhythm. It was as if they were dancing to the beat of disco. Yes, that's it. This is exciting, much better than that lullaby from earlier. Louder. Zhou Nianxi's voice was filled with a morbid excitement. Zhou Ian's pupils contracted once more. A fetus that enjoys listening to heavy metal rock music, a fetus that becomes restless upon hearing Mozart. This can no longer be explained as a coincidence. It is an innate nature, an innate longing for chaos and noise, and an instinctive rejection of beauty and harmony. I turned off the music. The room returned to silence. I look at Zhou Ian. Ian, do you believe it? Some children are born angels, while others are born devils. Zhou Ian did not speak. He just walked over and tightly embraced me from behind. His chin rested on the top of my head. I could feel his body trembling slightly. 9. The next few days, an eerie calm had settled over the home. Zhou Ian seemed like a completely different person. He no longer worked overtime, no longer attended social engagements, and came home on time every day. He personally took over my 3 daily meals, using an electronic scale. He strictly followed Professor Li's recipe, measuring each ingredient precisely to the gram: vegetables, fish, and a small amount of grains. It was so bland, it felt like eating grass. My mother-in-law wore a dark expression every day, venting her frustrations indirectly in the living room, but Zhou Ian remained unmoved. He even learned to ignore all her complaints. I'm hungry, so hungry. This Zhou Ian, does he want to starve me to death? And this foolish woman, eating so little every day. Are you a pig? Zhou Nianxi's curses became the only background noise in my mind. Her aggression had indeed diminished somewhat due to hunger. The impacts in my belly were no longer as frequent or violent, but her resentment grew with each passing day. I knew she was merely gathering strength, waiting for the next opportunity to erupt. I did not let my guard down. Every day, I spent a lot of time communicating with Xian. I place my hand on the right side of my abdomen and gently stroke it. I tell her stories and listen to soothing music. I tell her that mommy is here, her brother is here, and we are all protecting her. I don't know if she can understand, but every time I do this, I can feel a slight, gentle response, like little fish blowing bubbles. That's my Xian. She's telling me she's still trying. That afternoon, I was taking a nap. In my drowsiness, I was startled awake by a strange sound. It wasn't the sharp roar of Zhou Nianxi, but rather, a sobbing sound. Mom, Mom. The voice was thin and weak, filled with endless grievance. I feel so unwell. My sister is absorbing my nutrients again. I'm about to disappear. I suddenly opened my eyes. This tone, it's exactly the same as when she first deceived me. She changed her strategy. She realized that aggressive attacks would only make Zhou Ian and me more vigilant, so she picked up the weapon she was most skilled at once again: pretense, and to gain sympathy. Mom, don't you love me anymore, just because the doctor said a few words? Are you going to starve me to death? I am your eldest daughter. Her voice was like an invisible needle, trying to pierce its way into my heart. If I were still the foolish Su Rui from my past life, I would probably have softened by now. I would have already started doubting myself, wondering if I had truly done something wrong. But now, my heart is harder than iron and stone. I sat up expressionlessly, walked to the living room. Grandma was sitting alone on the sofa, wiping away tears. Seeing me come out, she immediately turned her head to the side and snorted heavily. I ignored her. I walked straight to the refrigerator and opened the door. The nutritional meals prepared by Zhou Ian for me are all sorted and placed in airtight containers. I take out a box of sliced apples. Apples, apples again. Is this woman deaf? I said I'm not feeling well. I want soup. I want meat. Zhou Nianxi's tearful voice carried a hint of barely concealed anger. I picked up an apple and took a bite. Crisp, sweet. Woo, Mama, I'm really in so much pain. Please save me. She started crying again. The cries were mournful, as if she were truly enduring immense pain. At that moment, the mother-in-law suddenly rushed over from the sofa. She snatched the apple from my hand and threw it fiercely to the ground. Eat, eat, eat. All you ever think about is eating. Pointing at my nose, she cried out with tears streaming down her face. You heartless woman. Are you trying to starve my precious granddaughter to death? I heard it all in my room today. The baby is crying. She's calling out to me. She says she's hungry. She says she's in pain. I froze. She heard it. Impossible. Only I can hear thoughts. Can Grandma hear me? Zhou Nianzi was also stunned, immediately. Her voice was filled with ecstasy. Great, Grandma is my savior. Grandma, hurry, help me teach this bad woman a lesson, make her cook me chicken soup. My mother-in-law cried even harder when she saw that I didn't react. Su Rui, do you have any conscience left? That's your own child too. How could you treat her like this? I'm telling you, if you don't get your nutrients back today, I'll die right in front of you. She started throwing a tantrum. This was her usual tactic against Zhou Ian. First, she cries, then, she makes a scene, finally, she threatens to hang herself. Zhou Ian always gives in. The door opened. Zhou Ian returned, seeing the tense scene in the living room. His eyebrows immediately furrowed. Mom, what are you doing again? What am I doing? I'm saving my granddaughter. Seeing her son return, the mother-in-law felt even more emboldened. She plopped down on the ground, slapping her thigh and wailing loudly. Yan, you need to control your wife. She's going to starve our child to death. I just heard the baby crying in the womb, begging for food. What a sin! What did our Zhou family do to deserve such a heartless woman? Zhou Ian's face instantly turned extremely grim. He looked at me. His expression complicated. I knew he didn't believe his mother's words, but faced with his mother's tantrum, he also felt an unprecedented sense of difficulty. Daddy's home. Dad, look, Mom is bullying me, and she's bullying Grandma too. You should scold her, make her go cook for me. Zhou Nianzi was excitedly directing me in my mind. It was as if she could already see the dawn of victory. I looked at my mother-in-law, who was throwing a tantrum on the floor. I watched Zhou Ian, caught between two difficult choices, and I felt the malicious presence in my womb, gloating with satisfaction. Suddenly, I felt extremely tired. It's all so ridiculous. I slowly walked up to my mother-in-law. In their shocked gazes, I slowly crouched down. Then, I raised my hand, hard. I gave myself a slap. 10. Slap. A crisp sound echoed through the living room. Everyone froze. Zhou Ian's pupils contracted sharply. The mother-in-law, sitting on the ground wailing, also forgot her next move. She's hitting herself. Zhou Nianzi's voice was filled with shock and confusion. Is this idiot crazy? My cheek was burning with pain, but I couldn't feel it. I looked at Zhou Ian. Tears, large and heavy, rolled from my eyes. This is not a disguise. It is the accumulation of all the grievances, pain, and despair from 2 lifetimes, buried deep in the heart. At this moment, it has found an outlet for release. Ian, I spoke, my voice hoarse and broken. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I shouldn't have poured out the soup Mom made. I shouldn't have disobeyed. I deserve to die. As I spoke, I raised my hand, ready to slap myself again. Zhou Ian rushed over and grabbed my wrist. His grip was strong, causing me intense pain. Su Rui, what are you doing? He growled at me, his eyes bloodshot. Don't do this. I looked at him and smiled bitterly. What can I do? What can I do? Mom says I have a heart as venomous as a snake's, that I want to starve my own child. She said she heard the child crying. Yan, I heard it too. I pointed to my head, tears streaming down even more fiercely. I hear it every day. A voice tells me to eat more, to make up for it desperately, or else the sister will be killed by the younger sister. Another voice tells me not to eat, to control, or else both children will be in danger. I'm going crazy. I don't know who to believe. I can't tell which is an illusion and which is reality. As soon as I close my eyes, all I hear is the doctor saying, difficult labor, massive hemorrhage, both mother and child lost. I'm scared. I'm really so scared. I grabbed his arm, my nails digging deep into his flesh. I feel like there are 2 little monsters living inside my body. They're fighting, they're forcing me, they're going to tear me in half. I screamed at the top of my lungs. I portrayed a pregnant woman tormented by pregnancy hormones, family conflicts, and fear of the unknown to the point of a mental breakdown, with absolute perfection. My mother-in-law was completely stunned. She probably thought I would argue back or throw a tantrum. She never expected that I would respond to her accusations in this way, a way that was almost self-destructive and utterly devastating. Zhou Ian was completely panicked. He held me tightly, as if holding a piece of porcelain about to shatter. Stop talking, Su Rui, stop talking. It's my fault. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have let you bear so much alone. His voice was filled with regret and heartache. This woman, is her acting that good? Zhou Nianzi's skeptical voice echoed in my mind. No, she's genuinely scared. She's afraid of me. She's scared. Dad, comfort her quickly, and then let her give me something delicious to eat. Her thoughts, innocent yet malicious. She doesn't understand at all. When a person no longer even cares about their own life, they no longer have any weaknesses. I pushed Zhou Ian away. I looked at him, my eyes empty. Let's go to the hospital, I said, right now. Let the doctor cut me open, take them out. I don't want them anymore. I don't want anyone anymore. I just want to live. Please, let me live. My words were like a knife, piercing Zhou Ian's heart. He looked at my pale face, at my hollow, desperate eyes. He knows, I'm not joking. This home is no longer a place I can stay. If I stay any longer, I really will go mad. I will die. Okay, he nodded, his eyes red. Let's go to the hospital. I'll call Professor Lee right now. We'll check in. Su Rui, don't be afraid. I'm here. I'll take you away. He supported me as we stumbled out. My mother-in-law scrambled up from the ground, wanting to say something. Zhou Ian turned around, looking at her with a chilling gaze she had never seen before. Mom, if anything happens to Su Rui or the child, I will never return to this home for the rest of my life. After speaking, he didn't glance at her again, supporting me, resolutely. He walked out of this suffocating cage. 11. The VIP ward in the hospital, pure white walls, clean sheets, and the air filled with the smell of disinfectant. Everything here makes me feel at ease. Zhou Ian has completed all the hospital admission procedures. He didn't go home. He made a temporary nest on the hospital's visitor bed. He insisted on staying with me 24 hours a day. My mother-in-law called several times. Zhou Ian hung up directly each time. In the end, he turned off his phone, completely cut off from all external disturbances. Hospital, the hospital again. I hate this place, Zhou. Nianxi's voice was filled with anger and unease. It's all your fault, you idiot. Stop pretending to be pitiful. Now look what you've done. You've landed me in this godforsaken place. What kind of food is this? So bland and tasteless. I'm starving to death. She curses in my mind every single day. The hospital's nutritional meals are even stricter than what Zhou Ian used to prepare. Each meal is personally delivered by a nutritionist. No oil, no sugar, and even very little salt. Zhou Nianxi's energy supply has been completely cut off. I can feel her fetal movements becoming weaker day by day. A gentle, vibrant pulse emanated from Xian's position. Professor Li visited the ward every day. The ultrasound showed that Xian's umbilical blood flow was gradually improving. The tightly clenched life channel seemed to show signs of loosening. This is good news, but Zhou Yan and I dare not take it lightly, because I know, a demon like Zhou Nianzi will never stop here. She was merely waiting for an opportunity to strike back. That evening, Zhou Ian went to fetch hot water for me. I was alone in the hospital room. I closed my eyes, savoring this rare moment of peace. Suddenly, a sharp, unexpected cramp shot through my lower abdomen. It felt as if someone were stirring my insides with a pair of red-hot tongs. I instantly curled up in pain. Cold sweat poured from my forehead and back. Fool, do you think you're safe just because you're in the hospital? Zhou Nianzi's voice was cold and venomous, full of the pleasure of revenge. You won't let me live in peace, and I won't let you either. I want you to suffer unbearably. I'm going to show you who's really in charge of your body. She began to torment me in ways I couldn't anticipate, directly attacking my body, my nerves. This pain came quickly and left just as fast. By the time Zhou Ian returned with hot water, I had already returned to normal, only my complexion was as pale as paper. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? He immediately asked nervously. It's nothing. I shook my head. Maybe I'm a bit hungry. I can't tell him. I have no evidence. To the doctor, all kinds of sudden pains during the late stages of pregnancy are normal. If I say that my fetus is deliberately tormenting me, they will only think that my mental issues have worsened. Yes, that's right. You can't say anything. You can only endure it yourself. Zhou Nianzi smiled triumphantly. Next, let's play an even more interesting game. As soon as she finished speaking, a strong wave of nausea surged violently up my throat. I covered my mouth and rushed into the bathroom. Facing the toilet, I experienced a wrenching dry heave. I couldn't vomit anything out. My stomach was completely empty, but that churning, overwhelming sensation felt like it was about to burn through my esophagus. Zhou Ian followed me in, anxiously patting my back. Su Rui, are you okay? I rinsed my mouth and looked up. In the mirror, my eyes were bloodshot, looking utterly disheveled. Having fun, Mom? Zhou Nianxi's voice was like the whisper of a devil. This is just the appetizer. As long as I'm not happy, anytime, anywhere, I can make you suffer more than death. I leaned against the wall, slowly walking back to my hospital bed. Zhou Yan immediately pressed the call button. The on-duty doctor quickly arrived. A series of tests was performed on me. Blood pressure was measured, fetal heart rate was checked, and blood was drawn. The results showed that everything was normal. It could be morning sickness, or it might be due to mental stress. The doctor gave an ambiguous conclusion. Get plenty of rest and try to relax." The doctor left. Zhou Ian sat by my bed, gripping my hand tightly. His brows were tightly furrowed. "Su Rui, tell me." He looked at me, his expression extremely serious. "Is there something going on again? Is she at it again?" He didn't continue, but he knew, and I knew. "We are talking about the same person." I looked into his worried eyes. I knew I could no longer bear it alone. I needed to make him understand, more directly and profoundly, what kind of monster we were facing. I take a deep breath. "Ian, turn on the recording function on your phone. From now on, for 24 hours, don't turn it off. Perhaps you might hear something unexpected." 12. Although Zhou Ian was puzzled, he still complied. He turned on the recording function on his phone and placed it on the bedside table, an inconspicuous corner. "Recording." Zhou Nianxi's voice carried a hint of disdain. "What is this fool trying to do? Does she really think a recording can capture my voice?" How laughably naive. Of course, she didn't know. What I wanted to record wasn't her voice, it was mine. It's my reaction, my pain, and my soliloquy. The next 2 days, Zhou Nianxi's torment intensified. It was as if she had found a new, interesting toy. She took great pleasure in attacking me in various ways. Sometimes it was a sudden, needle-like sting. Sometimes it's a sudden, suffocating dizziness. Sometimes it's a severe leg cramp in the middle of the night, so painful it jolts you awake. Every attack, she would gleefully provide a live commentary in my mind, and I, the moment she opens her mouth, will use the lowest voice only the recorder can capture, to respond. "Fool, I will make your head hurt as if it's about to explode." Her words had just fallen. I immediately covered my head, letting out a suppressed groan, muttering incoherently, "Stop, stop reading, my head hurts so much. Let's see if you dare disobey again. I'll make your stomach twist into knots right now." I immediately curled up, pleading weakly into the air. "Please, stop, I won't dare do it again. The weather is nice today. Let me give you a taste of what it feels like to fall off the bed." A wave of dizziness swept over me, making the world spin. Instinctively, I grabbed the railing by the bed, using all my strength to keep from falling. At the same time, I cried out in terror, "No, don't push me." When Zhou Ian was not around, I was like this, all alone, in the hospital room. I performed one eerie monologue after another. My voice was soft, very indistinct to the nurses and others. It was merely the unconscious moans and sleep talk of a pregnant woman, but that phone recorded everything, down to the last detail. The third day, Zhou Ian needs to go to the company to handle some urgent matters. Before leaving, he felt a bit uneasy. "Su Rui, I'll be back soon. Call me immediately if anything comes up." I smiled at him. "Don't worry." After he left, I lay on the bed. I knew that Zhou Nianxi's most active time was about to arrive. That troublesome man is finally gone. Silly woman, let's play something exciting. I heard from the nurse that a new flower has bloomed in the garden downstairs, called Datura. I heard that kind of flower is poisonous. What if you accidentally fell from upstairs and landed right in that flower bed? Would that make it 3 lives lost? Her words slithered into my ears like a cold, venomous snake. My heart clenched violently. She actually had murderous intentions. She wanted me to take her and Xian to die together. I immediately pressed the call button by the bed. Want to call for help. Too late. A dizziness more intense than ever before suddenly seized me. The ceiling, the walls, the windows, everything before my eyes was spinning wildly. My body slid uncontrollably off the bed. I fell onto the floor, struggling. I crawled toward the door. I must leave this place. I must find someone. Stop struggling. It's useless. Your body is under my control now. Zhou Nianxi's voice carried a tone of triumphant confidence. My hand had just touched the doorknob, yet my body suddenly stood up on its own. My feet, moving with stiff steps, one after another, walked toward the balcony. I look at my own body walking towards that open balcony without any safety net installed. My consciousness is incredibly clear, but I cannot control any of my own movements. I have become a prisoner within my own body, a mere observer. Jump. Zhou Nianxi issued the final command in my mind. Jump, and it will all be over. You foolish, disobedient body can finally disappear. My foot has already stepped onto the balcony railing. The wind rustles through my hospital gown. Downstairs, there is the hard concrete ground, and that patch of blooming datura flowers. Death is close at hand. Cherish peace. I'm sorry, Mom. It seems like I'm going to fail again. Just as my other foot was about to step out, bang, the door of the hospital room was kicked open with a single forceful blow. Zhou Ian rushed in. Seeing the scene on the balcony, his eyes instantly turned red. "Su Rui," he let out a roar, like an enraged lion. he lunged at me. In the second before I fell, he tightly, desperately, grabbed my arm. He dragged me back from the brink of death, forcefully and relentlessly. 13. I was held tightly in Zhou Ian's embrace, his chest heaved violently, his heart pounding against my back like a drum. Fear, lingering dread, and overwhelming rage intertwined within him. Damn man, how dare you ruin my plans? Just a little more, and that foolish woman would have been gone. Zhou Nianxi's voice screamed frantically in my mind, filled with the fury of a plan destroyed. I collapsed limply into Zhou Ian's arms, gasping for breath. My whole body is trembling, not because of the cold, but because I had just brushed past death. Su Rui, Su Rui. Zhou Ian's voice trembled in my ear as he called my name. Over and over, as if trying to confirm I was still alive, I raised my hand, mustering all my strength, and pointed toward the bedside table. Phone. I weakly uttered the 2 words, recording. Listen. Zhou Ian suddenly snapped back to reality. He carried me back to the bed, wrapped me tightly in the blanket, then pounced like a leopard toward the nightstand, grabbing the phone that had been recording all along. He took out the earphones, plugged them in, and put them on. He must block out all distractions to listen to what is recorded inside. The hell that belongs to me. The hospital room was very quiet. I could see Zhou Ian's face growing paler and paler as the recording played, his eyebrows furrowed tighter and tighter, his lips pressed into a stiff, straight line. He heard it. He heard those eerie, intermittent mutterings I made after he left. Stop chanting. My head hurts. Please, stop. Don't push me. That exclamation, "Don't push me," was the cry I let out as my body uncontrollably slid off the bed. Zhou Ian's hand clenched into a fist, the veins on the back of his hand bulging. The recording continued. Inside came my faint yet clear voice. You want me to jump down? 1 corpse, 3 lives. No, I don't want to. Help. Someone save me. My body. I can't move. The balcony. No. In the recording, my final voice was filled with helpless and desperate sobs. Then, there was a loud sound of a door being kicked in and his own hoarse roar. Su Rui. The recording ends here. Zhou Ian took off his headphones. He didn't look at me. His gaze fell on my prominently swollen abdomen. In that gaze, there was no longer any trace of paternal warmth or anticipation, only the cold, bone-chilling chill remains, and a kind of desire to destroy everything, a maddening killing intent. He finally understood. I am not having a mental breakdown. I am not acting. Everything I have experienced is real. In a realm beyond his comprehension, there is a demon, residing within my wife's body, attempting to kill our entire family. What kind of look is that in his eyes? Zhou Nianxi also sensed the danger. What does he want to do? This man seems a bit off. Zhou Ian looked up and gazed at me. His eyes were frighteningly red. He walked to the bedside, slowly crouched down, and took my hand. His palm was cold and damp. Su Rui, he spoke, his voice hoarse as if sanded by sandpaper. I believed it. I believed all of it. I'm sorry for leaving you to face this alone for so long. My tears finally broke through the dam, not because I felt wronged, but because, in this solitary battle, I finally have an ally I can fully trust to watch my back. 14. The next day, Zhou Ian and I once again came to Professor Li's office. Overnight, my husband's demeanor underwent a dramatic transformation. He no longer showed any hesitation or struggle. The entire person was like a drawn sharp sword, calm, sharp, and with a clear target. He did not mention the recording, nor did he speak of those things that could not be explained by science. He simply presented my situation to Professor Li in a way that medicine could understand. Professor Li, my wife's condition is very unstable. She exhibited severe persecutory delusions, along with self-harm and suicidal behavior. All of her actions point to one conclusion. She believes that her unborn eldest daughter, T1, is controlling and harming her. Yesterday, she nearly jumped from the balcony of the ward. Zhou Ian's voice was devoid of any emotion, as if he were reciting a medical report, but each word made Professor Li's expression grow increasingly grave. I need objective evidence. Professor Li adjusted his glasses. I need to know whether T1's fetal movements truly have a direct, real-time correlation with my wife's mental state. I request to conduct a real-time, high-precision 4-dimensional color ultrasound monitoring on her. I hope you can see with your own eyes what that child is doing. Professor Li remained silent for a long time. In the end, he nodded. I'll arrange it. Half an hour later, I was lying on that familiar examination bed once again, the cold instrument pressed against my skin. On the massive high-definition screen, the images of 2 tiny lives were clearly displayed. Xian remained as before, quietly curled up in a corner like a well-behaved little angel. As for Zhou Nianxi, She seemed to sense something. She restlessly shifted her body in the womb, like a trapped wild beast. Here again, these cold, ghostly things again. What do you all want? Her inner voice was filled with irritation. Zhou Ian stood right in front of the screen, next to Professor Lee. He gave me a look. I understand, the plan has begun. I reach out my hand and gently place it on the right side of my abdomen, where Xian is. My voice is so gentle it could drip with tenderness. Xian, my precious, listen, Mommy is talking to you. Don't be afraid. Mommy and Daddy will protect you. You are our most beloved little angel. Angel, is she even worthy? Stupid woman, how dare you praise that little waist in front of me? Have you forgotten yesterday's lesson already? Zhou Nianxi was instantly provoked. On the screen, the figure representing her suddenly moved. She raised her foot and kicked fiercely in Xian's direction. Xian's small body trembled violently from the heavy blow. Zhou Ian's fists instantly clenched. Professor Li's brows also furrowed. I did not stop. I continued speaking to Xian in the gentlest voice. I hummed a lullaby for her, telling her how beautiful the world outside was. I said that when she was born, her father would buy her the most beautiful princess dress, and her mother would take her to the amusement park. Every word I spoke felt like a whip, lashing fiercely at Zhou Nianxi's nerves. Shut up, shut up, shut up, you biased old thing. Those are all mine. The princess dress is mine. The amusement park is mine too. You and Dad can only love me alone. That little waste, she only deserves to die. Her anger reached its peak. She was no longer satisfied with just punching and kicking. She turned around abruptly. She turned her face toward the direction of the probe. The high-definition 4D ultrasound captured her features with perfect accuracy. On the screen, a face that belonged to an infant, one that should have been innocent and pure. At this moment, twisted by extreme anger and jealousy, it contorted into a ferocious, ugly, demon-like expression. Her mouth opened wide, as if letting out a silent roar. Even through the belly, the tightly closed eyes seemed to radiate a bone-chilling, venomous resentment. The entire examination room instantly fell into a deathly silence. The nurse operating the instrument instinctively covered her mouth, letting out a muffled gasp. Zhou Ian's body stiffened like a stone sculpture. Professor Li, a top expert accustomed to dealing with various difficult and complex cases, his hand was also trembling slightly. He stared at the screen at that face, which was not of the human category, but that of a devil. Word by word, he squeezed out a few words through gritted teeth. Record all of this, everything. 15. In Professor Li's office, on the massive display screen, the video was playing on a loop. That ferocious, distorted face was enlarged and frozen frame by frame, over and over again. Each time, it delivered a powerful visual impact and a shudder from the depths of the soul. Professor Li turned off the video. He took off his glasses and wearily rubbed the space between his eyebrows. In the office, it was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. A long time passed. He put his glasses back on and looked at us. In his eyes, there was an unprecedented gravity and determination. Mr. Zhou, Mrs. Zhou, as a doctor, everything I say must be based on science. From a scientific perspective, fetus T1, your eldest daughter, exhibits an extremely rare and highly aggressive pathological condition. Her existence poses the most direct and severe threat to the life safety of fetus T2 and the mother. He paused, as if searching for the most precise words. In my 30 years of medical practice, I have never encountered such a case. This is beyond the scope of our current medical understanding, but data doesn't lie, and images don't lie. My conclusion is, Professor Li looked at us, enunciating each word with utmost clarity, terminate the pregnancy immediately, without delay. These were the words Zhou Ian and I most wanted to hear. Professor, what do you mean? Zhou Ian pressed further. Proceed with a cesarean section in advance. At the current gestational age, both babies are considered premature, especially T2, due to long-term malnutrition, will need to be admitted to the neonatal intensive care unit immediately after birth. There will be risks, but Professor Li's tone was unequivocal. This is the only way to save both her and Mrs. Zhou's lives. Every additional day she spends in the womb increases your danger by 1 more point. I recommend scheduling the surgery at 32 weeks of pregnancy, which is 2 weeks from now. This is the minimum safety threshold for T2's survival. Zhou Ian and I exchanged a glance. We both saw the same determination in each other's eyes. We agree, Zhou Ian said. Everything is in your hands, Professor. And so, the matter was settled. The final day of the decisive battle was marked on the calendar. A bright red circle. After leaving Professor Li's office, the first thing Zhou Ian did was call his grandmother. The moment the call connected, my mother-in-law's loud voice came through. Ian, you finally know to call me. How's that crazy wife of yours? Has she started eating yet? Ian's face showed no expression whatsoever. Mom, pack your things and go back to your hometown today. There was silence on the other end of the line. A few seconds later, there was the mother-in-law's disbelieving scream. What did you say? You want me to go back to my hometown, you unfilial son? For that woman, you're trying to drive me away. Su Rui needs an absolutely quiet environment to rest during her pregnancy. Ian's voice was as cold as ice. This place is not suitable for you. I'm not leaving. This is my home. Why should I go? The mother-in-law started to throw a tantrum. Ian, I've sent you that video, Ian said calmly. Take a good look at what your beloved eldest granddaughter really looks like. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Directly, block, power off, all in one go. He completely cut off the last external factor that could possibly interfere with us. In the hospital room, only the two of us remained. We stared at the red circle on the calendar, neither of us speaking. 2 weeks, 14 days. This is the final hurdle for Zian and me. As long as we can get through this, we can welcome a new life. Surgery, C-section. Zhou Nianxi's voice echoed faintly in my mind. She knew it too. Want to get me out early, want that little waste to survive. Her voice was no longer filled with rage, nor was it cursing. Instead, it was a kind of eerie calm. Ian, Su Rui, do you think you've won? Do you think that by taking me out, everything will be over? Naive. She let out a soft laugh. That laughter, like a poisoned ice pick, pierced straight into my marrow. I'm telling you, the operating table is not her rebirth. It is the guillotine for both of you. Mother and daughter, 16. Ian never answered his mother-in-law's calls again, but he underestimated a mother's obsession. 2 days later, the door of the hospital room was slammed open by a tremendous force. My mother-in-law charged in like a lioness, her eyes bloodshot. Behind her, there were a few relatives whose names I couldn't recall. Each of them wore an accusatory expression on their face. Su Rui, my mother-in-law's target, was clear. She headed straight for my hospital bed. Ian stepped forward, like a wall, blocking the space between me and her. Mom, what are you doing here? His voice was devoid of warmth. What am I doing here? I came to see my son, who's been bewitched by a vixen. My mother-in-law pointed at Ian's nose and scolded him. And my poor eldest granddaughter. She turned to me again, her eyes filled with hatred. You poisonous woman, what on earth did you show Yan? I asked around. And those kinds of videos can all be faked. You want to use such despicable methods to harm my granddaughter. How cruel you are. Grandma is here. Grandma has come to save me. Zhou Nianxi's voice, silent for 2 days, suddenly echoed in my mind, filled with the wild joy of surviving a disaster. Grandma, quick, tear that woman's mouth apart, let her know who the real master of the Zhou family is. I leaned against the headboard, watching the farce unfold before me with a cold gaze. The last trace of patience vanished from Ian's face. Security. He took out his phone and was about to make a call. How dare you? The mother-in-law snatched his phone and slammed it hard on the ground. The phone screen shattered instantly. Ian, I'm putting my foot down today. If you still consider me your mother, make this woman apologize to my granddaughter right now, then go home and make up for everything you've missed. Otherwise, I'll act as if I never had a son like you. The relatives behind her also began to chime in, speaking all at once. That's right, Ian, your mother has had such a hard time raising you. How can you upset her like this, all for the sake of an outsider? It's normal for a woman to have wild thoughts when she's pregnant. Just go along with her a bit more, and it'll be fine. Making a scene at the hospital. How embarrassing. These voices buzzed in my ears like countless flies. I saw Ian's fists clenched so tightly they creaked. His suppressed anger was on the verge of erupting. I shook my head at him. Then, I turned to look at my mother-in-law. Mom, I speak, my voice calm. The video Yan showed you is real. That child, my eldest daughter, Zhou Nianxi, wanted to kill me. She also wanted to kill her younger sister, Zian. She is not a normal child. She is a monster. My words instantly silenced the entire hospital room. My mother-in-law probably never expected me to speak so bluntly, so calmly. Uttering such words, a few seconds later, she erupted into even sharper screams. You're talking nonsense. You're insane. I think you're the one who's gone mad. I think you're the monster. You're jealous. You're just jealous that my eldest granddaughter is healthier than the younger one. Ian, did you hear that? She admitted it. She admitted herself that she wants to harm the child. Yan paid no attention to her shouting. He bent down and picked up the phone with the cracked screen from the ground. He swiped his finger a few times. Fortunately, It still worked. He found a file, then. He handed the phone to his mother-in-law. He pressed the play button. Let go of your voice, his mother-in-law was still struggling. I want you to listen to something. Zhou Ian's voice was as cold and hard as iron. You wanted to know what your daughter-in-law went through, didn't you? Listen. From the recording came my suppressed, agonizing groans, and those intermittent, dream-like mutterings to myself. Stop reading. My head hurts so much. Please, stop. I won't dare do it again. Don't push me. The mother-in-law's expression began to change. The anger on her face was gradually replaced by confusion and unease. The recording continued. It was me, controlled by Zhou Nianzi, who made those desperate cries for help as I walked towards the balcony. You want me to jump down? 1 corpse, 3 lives. No, I don't want to. Help. Someone save me. My body. I can't move. The balcony. No. Finally, there was the loud, forceful sound of the door being kicked in, and that heart-wrenching, soul-tearing roar from Zhou Ian, Su Rui. The recording ended. In the hospital room, a deathly silence fell. The relatives who had come to cause trouble were filled with embarrassment and fear on their faces. Instinctively taking a step back, my mother-in-law stood there in a daze, as if all the strength had been drained from her body. She looked at Zhou Ian, her lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. Zhou Ian took back his phone. He looked at his mother, his eyes devoid of any familial affection, only endless, icy disappointment remained. Mom, now, do you still want me to go home? Do you still want Su Rui to apologize to your good granddaughter? Do you still want me to go along with her? Each of his questions felt like a slap, harshly striking his mother-in-law's face. Mother-in-law's body swayed, almost losing her balance. This man is insane. He actually recorded all of this. Grandma, don't believe him. It's all fake. This woman is an actress. Zhou Nianzi was still screaming frantically in my mind, trying to make one last desperate struggle, but it was already useless. Zhou Ian turned around and said to those relatives, esteemed elders, I apologize for the scene today. Family scandals should not be aired in public, but I can no longer keep this hidden. My wife is now hanging by a thread. She is risking her life to protect my other child. From today onward, if anyone dares to come here and say a single word that upsets her, it is I, Zhou Ian, your lifelong enemy. After saying this, he opened the door to the hospital room. He made a gesture of please. Those relatives, as if granted a pardon, rushed out of the hospital room as if fleeing. Finally, only the mother-in-law remained. She stood there, like a statue that had lost its soul. In the end, she said nothing. Hunched over, with unsteady steps, she walked out. Zhou Ian closed the door. The world was finally quiet. He walked over and took my hand. I'm sorry, Su Rui. I promise, there won't be a next time. I looked at him and gently shook my head. Ian, thank you. 17. There are only 10 days left until the surgery. These 10 days have been eerily calm. Zhou Nianzi has fallen completely silent. She no longer curses, no longer attacks, and even her inner thoughts rarely surface, as if she had truly fallen into a deep sleep due to hunger. But I know this isn't true. Before the storm arrives, it is always exceptionally calm. She is gathering her strength to deliver the most fatal blow to me and Xian on the operating table. I did not let my guard down. I devoted all my time and energy to building a connection with Xian. I played Mozart's music for her every day, tell her Andersen's fairy tales. I tell her over and over again, Xian, don't be afraid, Mom is here, Mommy loves you. I don't know if she can hear me. All I can feel is that when I stroke the right side of my abdomen, the response there seems to grow clearer day by day. From the initial sensation of a little fish blowing bubbles, later on, it felt like a kitten's paws gently scratching my belly. It was a gentle, affectionate interaction. That night, I had a dream. In my dream, I stood within a warm, golden glow. A little girl in a white gauze dress, with her short legs, came running toward me. She looked about 70% like Zhou Ian. She ran up to me, lifted her little face, and stretched out her short arms toward me. Mommy, hold me. Her voice was soft and tender, sweet like cotton candy. I crouched down and held her tightly in my arms. Are you, Xian? I asked, trembling. In my arms, she nodded vigorously. Mom, her small hand touched my face. Bad sister is coming. She's going to bleed me. So much blood. Mommy, I'm scared. My heart sank abruptly. I woke up from the dream, drenched in cold sweat. I instinctively glanced at the digital clock on the bedside table. 3 o'clock in the morning. At that very moment, a sudden, intense abdominal pain struck without warning. Not a stabbing pain, nor a cramping one, but a kind of pain that feels like a tearing Downward pull, contractions, fool, do you think you can wait 2 more weeks? Zhou Nianxi's resentful voice exploded in my mind once again after many days. I can't wait any longer, tonight will be your last night. I want all of you to die outside the operating room. She's forcing me into premature labor. The intense pain made it almost impossible for me to breathe. Using all my strength, I pressed the call button by the bed. Zhou Ian was startled awake, and his face instantly turned pale when he saw my agony. Su Rui, what's wrong with you? Contractions. She's forcing me into premature labor. My words came out in fragments. Nurses and doctors rushed in quickly. Hurry, get ready to enter the delivery room. The mother's cervix is already dilated 2 centimeters. The situation is critical. Notify Professor Lee immediately. The entire ward instantly fell into chaos. I was swiftly pushed onto a moving hospital bed. The stark white lights in the corridor flashed past my eyes. Zhou Ian held my hand tightly, running alongside the bed. Su Rui, hold on, you must hold on. His voice was filled with fear. It's useless, no one can save you. If that little waste doesn't come out tonight, you won't live either. Zhou Nianxi is laughing triumphantly in my mind. The pain comes in waves, one after another. My consciousness is starting to blur. No, I cannot fall. If I fall, Xian will truly have no hope. Xian, my Xian, in my heart, I am frantically calling out this name. I use the last bit of my strength to focus all my thoughts on the right side of my abdomen. I recall her adorable appearance from the dream, her soft, gentle voice. Xian, help your mother, mother needs you. Suddenly, just as I was about to be consumed by the pain, a faint, yet incredibly clear warmth, flowing slowly from the right side of my abdomen, spread throughout my entire body. That warm current, like a gentle hand, soothed my uterus, which had been curled up in agony from the pain. The sensation of falling and tearing miraculously began to lessen. What's going on, Zhou? Nianxi's laughter came to an abrupt halt. This little waste, what is she doing? My power, why? Her voice was filled with disbelief and astonishment. Immediately, a thin, timid, yet incredibly resolute voice, for the first time, it rang so clearly in my mind. Mom, don't be afraid, Xian, protect you. 18, it's Xian, it's my Xian. She's responding to me. She's using her feeble strength to resist Zhou Nianxi's attack. That warm current is her power, a kind of warm, life-filled energy, completely opposite to Zhou Nianxi's cold and sinister power. The intensity of the contractions is decreasing. The doctor monitoring the instrument let out an exclamation of disbelief. How is that possible? It was so strong just moments ago. Professor Lee had already rushed over. He stared at the curve on the instrument, his brow furrowed tightly. The mother's blood pressure and heart rate are beginning to stabilize. A miracle. This is truly a medical miracle. Only I know, this is not a miracle. This is my daughter, protecting me. Impossible, absolutely impossible. This little waste, how could she possibly have such power? You stop right there, stop, Zhou Nianxi roared furiously in my mind. She intensified the force of her attack. My abdomen began to ache with waves of pain once more, but this time, it was different from before. Every time Zhou Nianxi's attack comes, Xian's warm power immediately surges up, enveloping and dissolving the pain. It's like a battle between light and darkness. My womb has become their battlefield. I am no longer a helpless victim. I have become Xian's ally. I close my eyes, channeling all my love and all my thoughts to the little life on the right side of my abdomen. Xian, keep fighting. Mom is with you. The pain, pulled between 2 forces, remained within a range I could bear. My consciousness was exceptionally clear. Professor Lee made a decisive move. We can't wait any longer. Prepare for surgery immediately. The mother's condition is temporarily stable. This is our only chance. I was wheeled straight into the operating room. Zhou Ian was stopped at the door. He grabbed my hand and refused to let go. Su Rui, I'll wait for you to come out. You and Xian, I'll wait for both of you to come out. His eyes were red, his voice choked with emotion. I nodded to him. Don't worry. The door to the operating room slowly closed, blocking out Zhou Ian's anxious gaze. The cold light shone on my face. The anesthesiologist began administering spinal anesthesia to me. My lower body gradually lost sensation. Surgery, do you think you can win like this? Su Rui, Zhou Ian, you underestimate me too much. Zhou Nianxi's voice once again became calm and venomous. The failed premature birth plan did not discourage her. Instead, it made her subsequent plans appear even more sinister and terrifying. Do you know what is most feared in a cesarean section? She asked softly and eerily. It's a massive hemorrhage. It's the kind of massive hemorrhage where the blood bank can't supply blood fast enough. My heart skipped a beat. there's a major artery on your uterine wall. That's a good thing. Just as the doctor cuts you open, I'll use all my strength to break it. Blood will gush out like a fountain, the doctors will be in a panic, and they'll rush to save you, the adult, first, by then, who will have the time to care about that little waste that's already oxygen deprived. She will die in your belly, suffocated to death, and you will also die on this operating table from excessive blood loss. Su Roy, see how good I am. I'll let you mother and daughter die together. On the road to the underworld, you'll have company. Her words, like the most vicious curse, wormed their way into my ears. So, this was her final plan all along, perish together. No, not perish together. It seems she has a way to survive such a disaster. The doctor is already prepared. Professor Lee personally took charge. He stood by my side, giving me an encouraging look. Don't be afraid, we're all here. A blue sterile cloth blocked my view. I can't see what's happening below, but I can feel it. The scalpel is about to cut through my skin. I have to tell him, I have to tell Professor Lee about this plan, but how should I say it? Say that my daughter, in my mind, is giving me a live broadcast of her murder plan. They would just give me a sedative shot that would play right into Zhou Nianxi's hands. What should I do? What should I do, Mom? Xian's voice rang out once more. Don't be afraid, use your thoughts, tell Dad. Thoughts, tell Dad. I suddenly opened my eyes. I gaze at the massive, circular shadowless lamp on the ceiling of the operating room. The lampshade is as smooth and polished as a mirror. It clearly reflects the entire scene of the operating room. It also reflects the anxious figure standing outside the glass observation window. Zhou Ian. He hasn't left, he is outside, watching me. I focus all my concentration. I look at his reflection in the shadowless lamp. In my heart, I shout with all my strength, An massive hemorrhage. She's going to rupture my aorta. Hurry, inform Professor Lee. Prepare the plasma, get the hemostatic forceps ready. Hurry. 19. My consciousness, like a red-hot awl, strained with all its might to pierce the reflection in the shadowless lamp. Ian, massive hemorrhage, the aorta. I don't know if this mental cry can penetrate that thick layer of glass. All I know is that this is my only hope. Zhou Ian stood outside the observation window, his face pressed tightly against the glass, his eyes fixed intently on the operating table. He saw it. He saw my lips moving silently. He saw in my eyes that desperate, final plea for help. Between us, there seems to be an invisible thread, instantly connected. He took a sudden step back, the color draining from his face. A massive, concrete fear seized him. It wasn't fear of the unknown, but a specific word, blood. He remembered every warning I had given before, every prophecy. He remembered that recording that made his soul tremble. He no longer had any doubts. Bang! He slammed his fist hard against the observation window's glass. Professor Lee, he let out a beast-like roar. Massive hemorrhage. She's going to cause a massive hemorrhage. Prepare the plasma. Hurry, prepare the plasma. The nurses and doctors in the operating room were startled by the sudden roar. They looked out the window in confusion at the frantic man. The family is emotional. Ask him to leave. A young doctor frowned. No. Professor Lee raised his head, his gaze passing through the crowd to meet mine. He understood the affirmation in my eyes. This man, who had practiced medicine for 30 years, at this moment, abandoned all his science and reason. He chose to believe the intuition of a woman in labor, on the verge of death. Do as he says. Professor Lee's voice, calm and resolute, echoed throughout the operating room. Emergency blood bank dispatch. Prepare all types of arterial clamps, pressurized infusion, epinephrine on standby. Orders were issued one after another, and the entire team immediately sprang into high-speed operation. Idiot, did he think shouting a few words could save your lives? Too late. Zhou Nianxi's voice was filled with disdain, just as Professor Lee's scalpel cut through the final layer of my abdominal wall. Now, this is hell. Zhou Nianxi made her move, a chilling force, like a precise bomb, slammed fiercely into the blood vessel deep within my womb. I felt something inside my body violently burst open. Broken. Professor Lee exclaimed in shock. Bright red blood gushed out instantly, like a flood breaching a dam. The surgical field was instantly dyed a deep crimson. On the monitor, my blood pressure began to plummet. A piercing alarm echoed throughout the operating room. The shadow of death looms over everyone. Do you see it, Su Roy? This is your fate. Your blood will run dry. That little wretch will suffocate, and I will be reborn within your corpse. Zhou Nianxi's voice was filled With the ecstasy of a victor, my consciousness began to scatter, my body grew colder and colder. Am I going to die, Zian? My Zian. Just as I was about to plunge into darkness, a familiar warmth surged forth once more from the right side of my abdomen. It was stronger and warmer than ever before, like a tiny sun, rising within my icy body. It shielded my heart, steadying the last trace of my consciousness, which was about to scatter. You, for the first time, a note of terror crept into Zhou Nianqi's voice. How could you still have strength? Zian did not answer her. She was using all her energy to buy time, for me, and for herself. Vision is clear. Found the breach, artery clamp, gauze, apply pressure to stop the bleeding. Because of the advanced preparation, Professor Li's team showed no signs of panic. They operated like a precise machine, with every step being accurate and efficient. More than a dozen hemostats precisely clamped the bleeding points. The gushing blood flow was forcefully brought under control. Blood pressure stabilized. The patient is saved. Quick, get the baby. Professor Li did not hesitate for a moment. His hand steadily reached into my abdominal cavity. The first thing he touched was the tiny body curled up in the corner. Carefully, he lifted her out. It was a very small baby girl. Her skin was slightly bluish from lack of oxygen. She did not cry, only weakly opened her eyes. Those eyes were as clear as a spring of water. She looked at the world with a hint of curiosity. It's a girl. Quick, take her to the neonatal department. The nurse took her and rushed out of the operating room. Immediately after, Professor Li delivered the other child, Zhou Nianqi. She was much larger and sturdier than Zian. Her skin was rosy, brimming with vitality, but she did not cry. She was held upside down, taken away from the warm womb. Her tightly shut eyes suddenly flew open. In there was no confusion of a newborn, only resentment, anger, and unwillingness. How could this be? How could you still be alive? Su Rui, Zhou Ian, and that little good-for-nothing. I won't let you off. I will never let you off. In my mind, she let out the most vicious, final roar. Perhaps the anger had reached its peak. From her tiny mouth, which should have been letting out loud cries, instead came a low, guttural sound, not belonging to a human infant, a sound akin to that of a beast. Roar 20. When I woke up, I was already in the VIP intensive care unit. Various instruments surrounded me, emitting beeping sounds. Zhou Ian was lying by my bedside, tightly holding my hand. On his chin, a stubble of dark beard had sprouted. He looked utterly exhausted and haggard. Sensing my movement, he suddenly lifted his head. Seeing my eyes open, his own instantly reddened. Su Rui, he spoke, his voice so hoarse it was almost unrecognizable. You're awake. You're finally awake. He pressed my hand against his face. Warm tears fell onto the back of my hand. This strong man, who had never shed a single tear in front of me at this moment, crying like a child. Child, I asked weakly, how is Zian? She is fine. Zhou Ian quickly wiped away his tears and forced a smile at me. She's in the neonatal intensive care unit. Professor Li said she's a little miracle. Although she was born prematurely and is very underweight, her vital signs are remarkably strong. She'll be able to come out after a little more observation. I breathed a sigh of relief. My Zian has survived. What about the other one? I asked. At the mention of Zhou Nianqi, the smile vanished from Zhou Ian's face. His gaze grew complex and icy. She is also alive. Her body is very healthy, even sturdier than a full-term baby. But, he paused for a moment, she's strange, Su Rui. She doesn't cry, and she doesn't fuss. She just opens her eyes and looks at everyone who approaches her. That look, not like a baby, more like. He didn't go on, but I knew what he wanted to say. Like a cold-blooded animal scrutinizing its prey. Professor Li walked in. He saw that I was awake and also showed a relieved expression. Mrs. Zhou, you have created a miracle of life, he said to me. Losing over 4,000 milliliters of blood, an ordinary person would have. Your will to survive is the strongest I've ever seen. And Mr. Zhou, Professor Li looked at Zhou Ian. That timely warning of yours saved 3 lives, your wife's and your child's. Although I cannot scientifically explain how you predicted that massive hemorrhage, but the facts have proven that your intuition is frighteningly accurate. Zhou Ian did not respond to this praise. He looked at Professor Li and posed a question. Professor, did you all hear that piercing cry when Zhou Nianqi was born? Professor Li's expression instantly turned grave. He nodded. I heard it. All the medical staff present heard it. That was not a cry. We have conducted a comprehensive examination of her vocal cords and vocal system. There are no abnormalities, that is to say, from a physiological standpoint, she is fully capable of producing a normal cry, but she didn't. Zhou Ian took out a small voice recorder from his pocket. It wasn't the phone that had been shattered earlier, but a new one. Professor, after my wife was wheeled into the operating room, I stuck this on the glass of the observation window. I thought maybe it could record something. I think you should listen to this. He pressed the play button. From the recorder came first the chaotic noise of the operating room, a mix of various instruments and voices. Then, it was Zhou Ian's own roar as he smashed the window, and Professor Li's decisive voice giving the command. Everything was just as we had experienced, until the moment Zhou Nianzi was extracted. In the recording, her low, eerie roar was the first thing to be heard. Immediately, just as the roar fell silent, a voice, incredibly clear yet chillingly cold, like that of a ghostly child, drifted out. From the voice recorder, "I will never let you go." The voice was sharp, venomous, filled with a malice that did not belong to this world. Professor Li's body jolted violently, the color drained from his face at a visible speed. He stared fixedly at the voice recorder, as if it contained a demon from hell. Zhou Ian turned off the recording. He looked at Professor Li. "Professor, now, do you believe it? What has my wife been facing all along?" Professor Li remained silent. He slumped into the chair, utterly disheartened. The solid scientific worldview he had built over 30 years of his career, at this moment, was completely shattered by this recording from another dimension. He knows, what he delivered might not have been a child, but rather, one clad in human skin, a devil. 21. 3 days later, a consultation, led by Professor Li and bringing together the province's top experts in pediatrics, neurology, and psychiatry, was secretly convened in the hospital's conference room. The subject of the consultation was Zhou Nianzi. The ghost face video from the 4D ultrasound, that recording from the operating room, capturing inhuman screams and vicious curses, was played over and over again. The entire conference room fell into a dead silence. On the faces of all the experts, there was unmistakable shock and fear. Finally, an unprecedented diagnostic report was placed before me and Zhou Ian. Zhou Nianzi was preliminarily diagnosed with an extremely rare congenital indiscriminate malevolence disorder. Her brain structure is significantly different from that of a normal person. The areas responsible for empathy and emotions are almost in a dormant state. The area responsible for aggression and desire, however, is unusually active. In the words of experts, she was born without the humanity cord. She cannot feel love, nor can she generate sympathy. All her actions are driven solely by the most primal desires and malice. Her existence poses an unpredictable and immense potential threat to herself, her family, and even society as a whole. The final recommendation is to send her to the only psychiatric research institution in the country equipped with a special infant and toddler care center for long-term, isolated observation and treatment. That means Zhou Nianzi will grow up in a completely isolated environment. Her entire life will be spent under the cold surveillance of instruments and researchers. Perhaps this is her best, and only, destination. Zhou Ian and I signed the document. From the moment the signature was signed, the name Zhou Nianzi was completely erased from our lives. On the day the procedures were completed, my mother-in-law came. She seemed to have aged more than 10 years in an instant. With most of her hair turned white, she didn't cry or curse anymore. She just stood by my hospital bed, looking at me for a very, very long time. Finally, she took out an old, worn-out passbook from her pocket and pressed it into my hand. "This is all the money I've saved over the years." Her voice was hoarse. "The password is Ian's birthday. For Xian, consider it the last bit of affection from me as a grandmother. I am sorry to all of you. I am sorry to Xian." After saying this, she bowed deeply. Then, she turned around and staggered away. I watched her retreating figure, my heart a whirlwind of mixed emotions. I handed the bankbook to Zhou Ian, without even glancing at it. He donated all the money in it to the hospital's newborn foundation in Xian's name, to help those premature babies, like Xian, who fight so tenaciously for life. Half a month later, I was discharged from the hospital. A month later, Xian also returned to my side from the incubator. We moved, leaving behind the house that held too many nightmares. In a sunny neighborhood, we began our brand new life. Xian grew up quickly. She loved to smile. Whenever she smiled, her eyes would curve into two beautiful little crescents, exactly the same as in the dream. Her favorite thing is to snuggle in Zhou Ian's arms and use her little hands to grab her father's chin. Zhou Ian has completely become a doting father. He clumsily learns to change diapers and prepare formula. The first thing I do when I get home from work every day is rush to the nursery, pick up his little princess, and shower her with kisses. The house is always filled with the sweet, babbling laughter of Xian, and the gentle responses of Zhou Ian. Sunlight streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows, spilling onto the floor. I held Xian in my arms, sitting in The rocking chair, gently swaying, Zhou Ian walked over and wrapped his arms around us, mother and daughter. From behind, he kissed my forehead, then kissed Xian's rosy cheek. Su Rui, he asked softly, can you still hear it now? I knew what he was asking. I shook my head. From the day Zhou Nianzi was sent away, all the voices in my mind vanished. That golden finger that had accompanied me through 2 lifetimes quietly withdrew after fulfilling its mission. Now, I can hear nothing. All I can hear is the rustling of the wind through the leaves. All I can hear is my husband's loving whispers in my ear, and the heavenly, contented sigh of this little angel in my arms. That is enough. I lowered my head and pressed a kiss onto Xian's smooth forehead.